Alrighty, so I've got our Chapter 6 projects here, so let's get right into it. So I decided to do the Your Playlist app, which is technically the My Playlist app. But let's see, so this is the first activity here, and this is the splash screen activity. So I got this image off of, it was like Pexels, Pixabay, or Unsplash, is one of those. There's a link to it in my sources document. But so I do have all that documented, and I'll probably include the Amazon links of the songs as well as the video. I think the URLs there for the images. I'm pretty sure they were YouTube videos, but then Google Images let me download the thumbnail for that, which looked pretty cool. And then I did a little bit of editing for those, but I've got those in there as well, so that'll all be in the sources document. Anyway, so on to the video or program. So what we've got here, though, we've got this splash screen image, and this is this is a text view control. Remember, right? I gotta see if yeah, this is a text view control. And what I did here, the background image of the text view control is this music background. And then right here, the text itself is over in strings.xml, and it's just Wesley's playlist. And I got that, I centered that by changing the gravity property to center. Alright, so then here's the code for this. And basically all this is going to do, this right here hides the action bar just because it looks better without it. It's got more of a full screen view, and then it prevents the redundancy of Wesley's playlist showing up twice, both on the action bar and on the thing. I mean, I could have hidden the action bar text, but then it would have just been an empty action bar, so I just got rid of it entirely. But then right here we create a timer task, and what this task is going to do in its run, it's going to finish the activity, and then it's going to start a new activity, which is going to be the main activity. Alright, so then we schedule the timer here, so we create a new timer, and then we schedule a task here for it, which is just this timer task, and it has a delay of 6,000 milliseconds, which is equivalent to 6 seconds, and that is what was required in the problem description. Alright, so that wraps up this. So then this will switch it to the main activity. So we'll jump over there too. And here we go. So this took me quite a while to build, probably about an hour I think to get this thing laid out, just because fighting with the constraint layout properties. But now I feel like I've got a good hang of it, or got the hang of it, especially after discovering these horizontal barriers, or not barriers, the guidelines. But right here, what we've got, this is some of my favorite songs here by one of my favorite artists, Owen Fife, and he does did Renaissance and like medieval music, maybe even some early Baroque music. Can't remember, but it's definitely some older kind of ancient music. But pretty good stuff, and we'll get into that in a second whenever I run it. But right here I've got 3 pictures of him performing there. And then I have some buttons here off to the side of those images to play the songs. Alright, and then of course all this stuff has some pretty crazy constraint layout set up there to keep it, to display it correctly on the screen, that way it doesn't get smashed together. But then that wraps up the actual activity itself, so then let's jump into the layout, so then we'll jump into the code right here. So we declare some class variables up here at the top, 3 button variables for the different buttons that play the songs, and 3 media players that are used to play the songs, and a integer variable playing, which determines or indicates the state of the media player, since it doesn't do that itself. Alright, so then we reference the buttons right here, and those references are stored in the class variables. That way they can be accessed across the application. And then we create 3 media players, and we assign the different songs there to those media players. And we initialize playing to 0 to indicate that the song is paused. Alright, so then what this will do, I have there's 3 on-click listeners, 1 for each button, and inside of those on-click listeners, whenever the button is touched, it will switch the playing variable, and if the media player is paused, if no songs are playing, well, of course, you can't play multiple songs, but we'll get in that in a second, but if the media player is paused, then it will start the song. It'll indicate that it's playing, and then it will set the text to the button to pause and then the song name. That way that the user knows that they can pause it by touching it again. And then we hide the other buttons for the other songs there. And if it's currently playing and they touch the button, what this is going to do, it's going to pause the song, indicate that it's paused, and then set the text to show that the user can now play the song if they touch the button again. And then we'll show the other buttons, that way that the other songs can be played. And I did the exact same thing for the other 2 buttons, except for the fact that the text properties are different, and it uses, of course, the respective variables for those different songs and buttons and things like that, and it hides the other songs buttons. But the same logic, I guess you could say, for that. Alright, so then up here, strings.xml, we've got all of our strings here, the application's name, as well as the different text for the buttons, the splash screen, and a content description for all 3 photos. And since they were all 3 of 0 and 5, I just used the same content description for all 3 buttons. Or not buttons, but image view controls. Alright, and then of course I had to tweak the Android manifest file a little bit, because I ended up following along with the book and creating the main activity and making that like the the activity where the buttons and the images would reside, and making another activity that I created, the splash activity. And what would happen was that the main activity would load up first, and the splash activity would never be loaded. So I just tweaked that here in the manifest file, and basically changed splash activity to be the main activity, which then means that it'll be launched, whenever this application's launched, then it will launch the splash activity, and then of course that will transition into the main activity. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the code, and I'm going to have to create a second video containing the actual footage of the program running, because the way the Screencast-O-Matic works, the free version will not actually let me edit or won't let me include sound from my computer. So if I did run the application, you wouldn't be able to hear any of the songs or anything. So I'll go ahead and run that. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, but then I'll pick it back up in the second video.